Coil's black costume against the black background made him rather hard to make out as he settled into a chair at the far end, his back to the driver's seat.
Taylor just met him and she already wants to make out.
Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
We read Tangle 6.8. I am fascinated.
Ooh,
loved this chapter.
Excellent.
Really looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, let's just dive right in. I am summarizing this week.
I believe so.
So let's get to it. The Undersiders take a ride in Coil's limo and have a really long conversation with him.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. I'll hit a few
Good
more
summary.
beats, but yeah, that is the summary of the chapter. So yeah, we get a lot of detail about Coil, a close look at what his vibe is. They're in the limo. It's just the Undersiders and Coil and Trickster, and it's a little unclear exactly what he wants to get out of this conversation. He's like, I want to talk about the big picture, but first, a little demonstration. He starts flipping coins, one to each of the Undersiders, and every Undersider calls out heads when the coin arrives at them. And so, that's 5 heads in a row or something. Yeah. And when asked whether he's doing, probability manipulation, enhanced luck or something, he says, no, I control destinies. I decide outcomes. And Taylor's a little skeptical of that. Tattletale's like, I can vouch for him that, he's telling the truth or whatever. But after demonstrating his vague but seemingly very strong power, he starts to recontextualize what the Undersiders have been doing for him. He, has grand ambitions, and he wasn't ready to bring the Undersiders into the fold at first. He did seek out, Tattletale to sort of recruit her and started putting the Undersiders together as a team. And, he was very comfortable with the idea that they might fail, in which case that was fine. But they've proven themselves over the course of a few high-stakes jobs and other skirmishes with villains in the city that they are capable enough to be kind of read into his larger ambitions. And they talk a little later, sort of, Coil says that he's taking on risk by bringing them into the fold more because, Tattletale can probably learn stuff about him with her power, and he's going to be basically working more closely with them in his ambitions to the extent that, they'll have a little bit of leverage over him, and he won't want to just, cut them loose at any time in the future. But he's complimentary. He says, Undersiders, you've done great, as have the Travelers. Mm-hmm. And we learn why Trickster is here. Coil did indeed recruit the Travelers to come to Brockton Bay. They were working for Coil all along. And Trickster is here to give Coil an answer as to whether they're going to accept Coil's offer to kind of work more closely with these ambitious plans. And Trickster gives a really vague reply, but he's like, there's this issue, but if you can provide a fix on a temporary basis and towards a permanent fix, we're in. And Taylor kind of needles him a little bit about what's going on here, bringing up some of the stuff that Sundancer had said previously, but she doesn't really get any clear answers on it. But basically, Trickster's here to say, yes, the Travelers are in. And the question is, in on what? And at this point in the conversation, the limo peels out on a road elevated above Brockton Bay, and they roll down the windows and look out over the city. And Coil's like, trying to take over the world is such a cliche, but I'll take over the city. How about that?
It's much more practical.
Yeah. He's clear, though, that he doesn't just mean he wants to be the head villain of Brockton Bay. He wants to control the whole city. He wants to control the villain scene, but also the government, real estate, businesses, the courts. He's gonna own Brockton Bay and rule it. And
I said Brian was a control freak.
yeah, and he says he's almost done it. He's in his end game.
Yeah.
The ABB is in shambles. He's making moves against Empire 88. The heroes are really on the back foot, and it will take a while for them to recover. So basically, he's like, I've got real estate. I've got a lot of money. I've already been bribing the politicians who are running in elections later this year. And this is the moment to consolidate all of the villain power in the city. And so I have chosen you and the travelers to be a big part of that plan. So we're going to act now, and by the time the heroes or anyone else, could sort of stop me, I'll have already consolidated control. And he doesn't get into like a lot more detail than that, I think, in terms of the specifics. Maybe we can pull a few things out. But in particular, he is asking the Undersiders to no longer be, he calls them, uncommon criminals doing the occasional job, but that they will hold territory in the city. The rough part of town, the docks, the boardwalk, the train yard, those areas where the Undersiders have been kind of doing their jobs already, that's going to be territory that the Undersiders hold in kind of a, enforcer capacity, so that basically none of the other villains and presumably heroes and other people are willing to get in the way. And the Undersiders want to know, well, what's in it for them? Coil says, that's up to you. I can give you whatever you want. And then goes on to list a few things. He says, hey, bitch, I know you have multiple warehouses full of rescue dogs.
Wild.
And, no, I'm not going to do anything about that. I think that's great and all, but, you only have so much time to spare, but I have resources. I have money. I can give you staff. I can make sure that the city's, shelters are more humane, right? He's like, this is everything that I can do for you. What do you say to that? And she's like, I think you're fucking with me. It's an amazing response. But he so that's his pitch to bitch. And he goes on to Regent.
The bitch pitch.
He says, Regent, I know you
have daddy issues.
You grew up rich, and
did I say he had daddy issues?
Yes.
I knew it.
Yeah, possibly the best out of the blue call of
he just
of all time.
Obviously has daddy issues.
We can confirm
he
it.
was well written.
According to Coil, he definitely has daddy issues. But yeah, he grew up rich. He grew up with expectations that he would have all of this leisure and entertainment at his disposal.
I think he's the son of one of the triumvirate.
Yeah, well, we learn some details about his backstory, right? So he's sort of saying like, hey, well, just recently, the PRT's been digging in to stuff about the Undersiders, and let's say, what if a supervillain from somewhere else moved to Brockton Bay, changed their name and costume and methods? Well,
isn't he like 15? How long has he had to be a supervillain?
What he says is
Amazing.
The PRT found Regent.
Yeah.
Found out his old identity, and then Coil found out because of that, but Regent wants to get out of under his father's thumb. He probably wants to prove himself, and Coil says, I can give you that. I'll give you status and notoriety. And Regent doesn't really actively respond to that. He nods. But Coil moves on. He's like, I want to be clear about what I'm doing here. I don't want to manipulate you like Kaiser. I don't want to use fear like Loon. I just want to make you the best offer. The offer you can't refuse, so that, you'll get what you want and you'll do everything I say, more or less.
I was interested in the tone of voice you used to deliver that.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to influence your take on Coil. We should hear from you what your take on Coil is in this chapter before we get into it. But yeah, I would have you work alongside me because I'm the person that is best equipped to provide what you desire, and that nobody else can or will give you a better offer. I mean, I feel like that is kind of a thesis statement of what he's at least trying to do in this chapter. Taylor's like, okay, but you were ready to cut us loose if we screwed up before this point, so what's stopping you now? And not only is he like, I think I said this before, you're going to know stuff about my plan, but also you guys are strong. I don't want to make you into enemies. And if I did betray you, I couldn't sort of like imagine all possible outcomes.
I couldn't guarantee
right, that I'd be safe from retaliation. So he's kind of like, yeah, once you're in the club, you're in the club. Like, at least that's what he's saying. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is he doesn't know what to offer to Skitter.
Yeah.
He's like...
Which makes me really curious about what he's already offered to Lisa.
Yeah.
So find out.
He mentions that he knows that, Lisa's already been in his employ. She's been keeping his secrets. Gru, they have a prior arrangement. We've heard about all the details of this before. But he's like, Skitter, what's your deal? What do you want? And Taylor thinks about it. And there's a long moment of silence. And she says, the city. If you're going to control it, make it better.
Yeah.
And Coil's like, I can't promise that to you. And then he says, no, hear me out. I'm going to do that already. Because I am a proud man. Yes. And my ego would not let me let the city get worse or even stay as it is in its current condition.
Yeah.
So I can't offer something to you, like I'm already planning to give you all the money and resources you need. Uh-huh. I'm already planning to fix the city. So that's not a good enough answer.
But it seems like that is basically the answer. I don't think
we don't actually come to a conclusion. Similar, once he has a moment to talk to Bitch and Regent and Taylor to kind of lay out the offer, but he doesn't really dwell on any of them.
Yeah.
It does seem like maybe Gru and Taylor settled business. They talk a little bit sort of like, he's like, Skitter, it sounds like you want me to stop all crime. I think crime's inevitable, but I can tame it. Drugs, they're going to be drugs, but maybe better drugs, less destructive ones. They kind of talk about that. But he says, like, yeah, I'll fix the ferry. That's something that she specifically asks about. And I want you to tell me, come to me later, right? Like, we'll have an open dialogue when you see things that you want done.
I can't believe she's going to sell her soul for the ferry.
Well, I'm interested in your choice of word to sell your soul.
No, that's not really how I feel about it.
And then he also says, but look, if you want to just keep doing the stuff you've been doing, whatever, all good. I won't hold it against you if you say no. Another thing that he just says. Regent's a little skeptical about that, but this is where he's like, basically,
if I tried to take you out,
I probably couldn't take you out without loose ends. I'd much rather just let you keep doing stuff, with our prior arrangement. As I was kind of saying, oh, and by the way, I'm not going to give you your money in cash. Instead, I've set up a secret bank account for you. We'll circle back to
the number man.
Apologies, listeners. I was aware that I had missed that name before this recording, but the timing didn't work out to sit down with Jenny and edit it into the last episode. Jenny did tell me what her prediction was off mic, so we can hold her to account. It was basically what he is.
Well, no, I thought he was someone whose power is to know any quantity. Like, it's like, oh, how much money does that person have? He always knows. How many trees are in that forest? He always knows. And I thought he was Coil's accountant.
He's a supervillain banker.
Yeah, he's a supervillain banker. So right neighborhood. I don't know if he has that specific power, but yeah.
Yeah. But he lets them out. He says, think on it. Decide within a week. Mm-hmm. So they have a new deadline. And
it's the same deadline that Taylor had.
That's true. And they are reunited with the dogs. Coil had shipped each of Bitch's dogs in a separate van to accompany the armored limousine.
Very deluxe.
We learned, I just love this detail, the dogs, when they get smaller, they slough off their skin, and it basically the original dog is just there unchanged in the middle, inside. Unchanged.
Yeah, so where does that flesh come from?
Well, this is the question, right?
I mean, more
interesting to me is what happens to it after? I feel like every time the dogs go out, they leave behind.
They seem to.
So and the undecided, they don't chat as they're heading away. Everybody is very contemplative, and Taylor thinks, I have it. I've got what I need. I just don't know how I feel about it. And that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. I love Coil as a character. I was waiting for Ted to put
I feel like I shouldn't edit out that pause. Oh, I thought it was a very pregnant pause.
No, I was waiting for her to put her phone down in case we needed to cut out a sound.
I love Coil.
I mean, but I kind of do love him. So what
this is
proposing,
great. I'm scrolling to the section in my notes called Coil's Vibe because I want to get into this.
I feel like the vibe he's presenting in this chapter is he's very reasonable. As he says, he's not a good man. But it reminds me a lot of Emir in The Witcher, actually. Like this kind of like, oh, this person is going to conquer the world, but he's going to rule it better than the people who are running it before.
Yes.
Like, I feel like the question before Taylor is almost not even an ethical one, but a civics question. Like, does she want this new system of government? Like, is she a no kings then, no kings now type of person? Or is this like a, oh no, he's going to do away, but like the city is in terrible shape. The people running it are doing an awful job, and hey, he's going to do a better job. Or is it more like, no, we can't trust one person unchecked to run the city. He could basically do anything he wants. No, we need the system of checks and balances, even if it's less efficient, even if the results in many areas are not as good. We can't put all our eggs in one coil-shaped basket.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's how it presents itself to me. And what Coil seems to be, like, he does seem, from everything we've seen and from everything he says in this chapter, to be someone who can more or less live up to his promises. Like, he is careful not to promise too much. He's like, I will not make it perfect. I will not try to eliminate all crime. He is very, very careful to make everything he's promising contingent on something other than virtue. Like, he's not saying, no, I'll be loyal. He's saying, no, it wouldn't make sense for me to betray you at this point.
Yeah.
He's not saying, I'm going to clean up the city because I'm a good person and I'll rule it well. He's saying, I'm going to clean up the city because I am a proud man and I need to rule well the thing that I've conquered in order to live up to my own pride.
Yeah. It's funny, that approach is kind of a checks and balances approach, just in a
but within
the people who are the stakeholders are not the branches of government or the citizens. It's this villain group. This sort of like, they all need to their own vices, their ambition, and their pettiness will keep each other in line. Right.
Well, yeah, he's really just talking about keeping himself in line. It is interesting to think that he's chosen villains. He's chosen allies who are strong enough to do his work, and also who maybe are strong enough to keep him in line, and he does invite Taylor to take that role with him.
Yeah.
But again, it's not, none of it is above board in a legal sense. None of it is within any of the systems that already exist in our society. And I don't know how strongly Taylor is going to feel about sticking to those.
Right.
I don't know what kind of respect for the establishment she has.
Right. And we know a lot about her feelings about capes, and we know that she generally distrusts authority.
She distrusts authority, but she instinctively trusts the protectorate.
Right. But yeah,
we not enough to join the war.
We haven't gotten a ton of nuance. Like, we know a little bit, like, we know about the PRT, we know about, there are still, like, elections and stuff that get mentioned in this chapter.
Oh, yes.
But, like, the people who are involved in the non-cape related aspects of government are not characters in the story.
Yeah, and it's not like the protectorate was elected.
Correct.
I guess they were approved by the government.
Yeah. Maybe the interesting point to make here is that I cannot help but to read into Brockton Bay, in that absence, a city much like Boston or another city that I've lived in, with all of the government kind of working like that, and then with kind of,
also
and there's also cape stuff there.
I think so, yeah.
Right, but I guess I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know how...
I mean, certainly law enforcement is supplemented by capes in some arrangement, we don't know.
Right. But, like, we don't know anything about, like, has the legal system adjusted in the last 25 years due to the presence of capes? There's a lot of sort of unknowns there. But you have to assume, right, that there is a somewhat... What am I trying to say here?
This is the corruption of an existing system, basically. Or it is the upending of an existing system. Like, it seems like there are all these, like, judges and town officials and whatever, but actually they'd all be controlled by Coil.
Yeah. I guess the point that I want to make is you could look at different cities and the corruption in their government or the civic problems they have, the crime issues that they have in our superpower unaffected world, and, like, think about what the causes are, whether they're people's personal failings or more like systemic things or whatever. And, like, the fact that capes exist means that, like, it's really tough to, like, diagnose, Brockton Bay in a one-for-one way to, like, our real world.
I was wondering, as soon as we learned Coil's power, I was like, oh, is he the reason that Brockton Bay is failing?
Exactly.
We don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like frustrated by my inability to voice all my thoughts at once because this chapter gave rise to so many
Same.
thoughts.
I want to dig into everything you're saying, but let's just keep saying stuff and we'll...
The thing that I'm thinking about now is the moment at the mall where Taylor's realizing, like, no, these are just some kids. And then some, like, people who happen to have powers who are, like, in charge of the rest of us. Why are they in charge?
Yeah.
I feel like that thinking is going to feed into her choosing to side with Coil, either temporarily or on a permanent basis. I feel like it's too soon for her to decide to do it on a permanent basis, but, like, maybe, who knows? Because she has seen, like, oh, no, we actually are being ruled by these arbitrary people who are doing a bad job. And this is a different, like, arbitrary, unelected, like, who says he should be in power, but he has the ability to do so, so he's going to be.
Right.
But it seems like maybe he'll do a good job.
Right, yeah. I mean, I feel like I haven't quite articulated my point, but, like, I feel like sort of, again, pretend like without the superpowers and stuff, if you, like, were talking to somebody who's in charge of, like, organized crime in Boston and is, like, could lay out the exact same plan, like, well, I have all these people, I have all this blackmail on the people in the police force and I'm bribing the person who's running for office and I have all this money and I control all of these, you know, aspects of the city and, like, I need, you know, your help to basically run part of my, like, you know, criminal gang to, like, keep people, like, do the protection racket part of that.
I feel like I'd have two questions. I'd want to know, do I trust them? And I'd want to know, like, what's the succession plan?
That's, I mean, no,
like,
sure,
that's the real problem with monarchy, right? Like, you can get one, like, they wanted to make Washington basically a king, and he was like, no.
I mean, this is getting way off topic, but I'm almost offended that you would, like, consider it, right? Like, it's civics question.
It's easier to be tempted by it in a story setting, where you don't have to actually deal with the real-world implications of being wrong. You just get to see, like, ooh, I want to see someone be really competent and fix the city.
Right. I mean, it's the consequentialism thing, right?
Yeah.
Coil certainly believes that he is that capable.
Yeah.
The question is whether Taylor believes it and whether she's seen reason to believe it, just based on this conversation and what she knows so far. And I think that I'm not surprised that she's not like, oh, I don't care about democracy, or I don't know, whatever point I'm trying to make with the real world analogy.
Yet. Yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't really reacted, but I do feel like what Taylor thinks, right? What she articulates is, if I say yes to you, I'm okay with supervillain rule. We can call it, you know, monarchy or
dictatorship or tyranny.
Yeah, supervillain tyranny, as long as the economy picks up and crime goes down.
Yeah.
And that's like, to me, that's like a big...
She's not saying that, though.
Well, that's basically what she said to Coil. Whether
what
she believes
says is
that...
that is what I would want. She hasn't said that she would accept the deal.
No. That's exactly. Yeah. But that's what she wants. But, like, that's a big eyebrow raise from me that there aren't more fundamental objections there. I guess she feels boxed in.
She hasn't given any objections yet. She hasn't actually done any analysis, even in her head, of this. Like, we've seen Coil's thing. The end of the chapter is queuing up her reactions. I realize you've read the whole book, so you know more than I do. But I think what she is, she's in a position where she's like, I can't lie because Tattletale will know if I'm lying. I have to actually say what I want. And she says what she wants, which is, I want the city to be better.
Yeah.
That doesn't at all imply that she trusts that Coil would do it or that she thinks elevating Coil is, you know, a good idea in any way.
That's right. Yeah. And I am not trying to get ahead of the chapter or be too hard on Taylor in this scene. I get that she's boxed in. I guess I'm reading into most of what she says is that based on that idea that she has to be as honest as possible when she talks about the city, like that those are pretty close to her real...
I mean, that she wants it to be better.
Views on things.
Yeah. But she might think, and we just don't know at this point, that like, okay, but it can only really be better in a lasting way if it's not run by supervillains.
Right.
And I think what you were saying, you're offended that I think it would be very tempting to believe that like, oh my gosh, there's so many problems and this person could fix them. Like that would be such a great thing in a very limited meaning, in a very limited sense, if that could happen. I mean, I would come down on the side of, no, it is better to work within a system that, you know, like I was saying, has checks and balances, has, you know, at least theoretically has transparency and accountability, like to the collective, than set up sort of a short-term fix, even if it ended up solving those problems. I think, you know.
Yeah. And I guess you're right. That is kind of the fantasy he wants to create here, because he says,
it's such a great fantasy.
I control destinies. Like, that's his power. He's like, I want the coin to always be heads. It's always heads. That makes the problem, if true, that he can do that, and everything that he says about, the fingers in many pies is true. Then the question really becomes, well, he already is controlling the outcomes. So, like, how do I influence the person who is doing the stuff, right? That is a different, I guess it's a different moral quandary of like, well, are you helping somebody get to power, or are you making a decision because the person with the power is like asking for your help or for your favor or something like that? Those are sort of different strategies. Right.
And I still do predict that she's not going to decide in the next week, I'm in, I support Coil. She's going to decide, this is a bad long-term idea, but in the short term, he's going to take down Empire 88. If I take him down, I'm helping Empire 88. This is what I predicted before.
Yeah.
So she's going to, she's going to act in his support until he's cleaned up, the biggest villain problem in town. And then he'll be the biggest villain problem in town. And then she can go to the Protectorate.
Yes, that makes sense.
I want to talk about Coil as a foil to Armsmaster.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. So Coil is talking about how he has destabilized the heroes. And there are going to be some leadership changes. It'll be a long time before the heroes are kind of in a settled state again in town. I honestly think he might be better to keep Armsmaster in charge, because Armsmaster is so bad at it. But like, just everything we learned about Armsmaster in the last 2 chapters, where he is such a terrible leader. Mm-hmm. He really doesn't want the advancement of the people under him. He's willing to throw them under the bus. He actively resents his most promising up-and-coming heroes. Is so the opposite of Coil, at least what we see of Coil in this chapter and what we've seen of the boss so far, where Coil has been actively shepherding a team of young supervillains so that they can be his allies. Like, he's not like, ooh, that one seems like they might get too strong. Let's sabotage them. Like, no, he's like, oh yeah, I'll be the strongest if I have good allies.
Yeah.
Who have reason to think I will help them.
Yeah.
And he's a very good manager. They also they're both extremely into preparation. Look at what Coil is doing here. He has this years-long plan. He started the Undersiders a year ago with okay, I'm going to do all these moves to help them grow as a young team. I'm going to engage Empire 88 so that they're distracted. So the Undersiders will just face off against the ABB, and that will be good training for them. He is so strategic and is putting the pieces in place to have this long-term success. And Armsmaster wishes he were that guy. Armsmaster is so straightforward. He's like, no, I'm just going to train and be the best hero I can be. And I'll research all my enemies and I'll learn how to defeat them personally. He's not willing to put together, he's not willing to raise up his allies.
I love that point of contrast.
And he's not willing to enter a tangle. Coil is all about the tangle. He's building his own tangle. He's entangling the world so it can answer him. And Armsmaster is like, no. I just need to straightforwardly win every time.
Yeah. It just reminds me of the, I think this is vague-ish spoilers for one of the recent Wonder Woman movies or something. She ends a war by, punching somebody, right?
The one, God of War figure. I forget exactly.
Yeah, but it's sort of well, if your character is a Glory Girl type, then...
That has to be the villain. War is the wrong subject matter for that.
Right, yeah. There has to be a villain you can punch.
Specifically World War I.
Right, there has to be a villain you can punch if what you are is somebody who punches. And to be fair to Armsmaster, he's got more stuff at his disposal than Glory Girl, but he's still his power is taking stuff and bringing it into his own person. And Coil's whole deal, we do learn he has a power, or claims to have a power in this chapter. But his whole deal is that...
Influencing others.
Influencing things, influencing other people, but influencing a whole system.
Yeah.
Right? It is sort of impersonal in a way that is a better fit for solving real-world problems than sort of traditional superhero.
And he clearly thinks
heroism.
that. He does the 5-dimensional chess, that Armsmaster is no, that's not my game. And like you said, it's a good trait in a hero to avoid the tangle, but it's not good if you're going up against someone like Coil.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm realizing like why he's called Coil. It's the thing where like a snake will like wrap itself around you and you're fine and you're fine and you're fine and it starts squeezing and it's like you're less and less and less fine. Yeah. It's like the long-term plan coming to fruition. He is like put all the pieces in place and he's starting to squeeze.
Yeah, I love that. And that ties really nicely into the thing I wanted to read. The interior was all black leather, the windows tinted dark. Coil's black costume against the black background made him rather hard to make out as he settled into a chair at the far end, his back to the driver's seat.
Taylor just met him and she already wants to make out.
If I squinted a little, it looked like only the snake stenciled on his costume was there, hovering in empty space. I just am picturing just like being in a room with Coil and how, like I've said before, I think the costume is very silly. But so that image, I feel like, unlocks a lot for me, especially with the rest of this chapter about Coil, right? Obviously, it's that, like, you can't see the man because you're looking at the snake, right? Like, there's something hidden, or there's more than meets the eye, right? Going on. Like, that's
interesting.
Part of the vibe that
we don't know his
presents.
Backstory. We don't know, actually. So Taylor's like, I've got what I need. I could go to the Protectorate with this. She could not. She doesn't know who he is in real world terms. Like, she knows his Coil. They already knew there was a villain named Coil. She knows more about his plan, but like, what the heck are they going to do against his plan? Like, the Protectorate is completely incompetent at this kind of thing.
Right. Like, I guess the thing that she can tip them off to is the snake's wrapped around you and it's about to squeeze.
Yeah.
Right.
But could they get out? Probably not.
Right. That maybe that would factor into her decision too. That's a really good point. But right, I'm sure that he is carefully trying to control what you see, right? He had this theatrical entrance last chapter. He takes them out over the city as he talks about it, right?
He's a showman, yeah. And he makes a show of courtesy also. Like, that's part of his show.
And so he really is trying to control the way you see him. But I think he's also being
so good
really
at the appearances game.
Right.
I think Taylor's been so bad at.
He's also obvious about it. Like, the fact that his costume is like, you know, there's a snake, but there's also just a guy behind the snake. And he, like, calls himself a cliche. Like, he's kind of embracing the monomaniacal, like, I'm going to control it. I'm going to rule the world. Ha, 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 ha. But he's very self-aware. It's almost like he's a postmodern super version of the supervillain. But I think the snake, to me, it's the, you know, by the time it's squeezing, it's too late. But it's also the biblical serpent, right?
Oh,
like,
this is the temptation for Taylor.
And he's overtly tempting them.
Yeah.
Right? And it's almost
he's
like...
coming in like Santa.
I was thinking...
Totally Santa Claus
It's
here.
like, I was sort of saying, it's a, you know, dark version of normal politics with the, like, checks and balances thing. This is like pork barrel spending in legislation. He's going to each of the undersiders, and he's like, no, I don't, like, want you on my team. I want to, like, transact with you and what you personally need. Like, I want to help your dogs. I want to help your ambition. I want to help you with your sister.
Idea. If you're giving them what they personally want, why would they ever betray you? They're getting what they want. Right.
So, like, he's the snake, but he's, like, not being subtle about it. He's like, no, I'm tempting you. And I want this to be the best temptation possible so that we work together forever. Right? Like, that's kind of what his deal is.
Yeah.
And to finish that thought, like, I totally get why he's like, no, Taylor, I need a better, well, he's saying, no, Skidder, I need a better answer than that. Because if all she wants is for the city to be better, if there's ever a chance for somebody to depose the new king of Brockton Bay, and Taylor thinks that new person could do a better job.
Right, it's not a good enough temptation.
Right, then there's no incentive for her anymore. Right, like he wants to create that, you know, permanent coil, that permanent tangle that you can't get out of.
Yes. Yeah, he's coiling himself around them as they speak. I am obsessed with bitches' warehouses full of dogs. I am so into this. Of course she has warehouses full of dogs. We were saying, like, what does she do with these dogs? And now we know she has them in warehouses. Like, I'm really not sure how this operates. Like, it seems like it could get really bad, but she's very good at dogs. So I imagine she's doing as good a job as anyone could in this situation. But how good a job can you do when you're just one person who doesn't have that much time? Yeah. And you have warehouses full of dogs.
Yeah. And this is kind of her, like, what does she do all day when she's, like, out?
Yeah. Right. She takes care of her warehouses full of dogs, but she can't even probably go to all of them every day. Like,
yeah.
what's going on there?
Yeah. Right. There's a lot to it, and maybe she really does need the help. It's so funny. Well, because we're both grown-ass people considering the merits of Coil's offer here, right? Mm-hmm. The Undersiders are teenagers, and it is so funny the way Bitch is like, the way Coil's like, oh, well, what would you say to my amazing offer? And she's just like, I'd say you're full of shit. Like, that's too good to be true. Like, I am a low-trust person.
Right, exactly.
It's so funny.
But how can you not want Coil to take power just in order to carry out his promise to Bitch?
Hey, I agree with you.
Yeah. And going back to the foil with Armsmaster, like, we've seen the leader of the heroes be a really kind of lousy person in several ways.
He threatened to hurt those dogs.
Exactly. And here's Coil coming in being like, no, I respect your passion. I could actually make it so, like, dogs don't ever suffer anymore in the city. We'll make the pounds better, or the shelters better. We'll give money to people who want to foster dogs the way we do to people who want to foster kids. We'd have checks to make sure people don't game the system. Like, all of this stuff. Like, you're like, how do you not want this guy in charge? Like, how, it's such a good temptation.
Setting up a protection racket to control what all of the crime in the city is. That's one thing. But creating a paradise for dogs, I'm all in.
Exactly.
You're right. I completely agree with you.
Exactly. Yes, I want Coil to rule this city forever.
Oh my gosh.
And then we get Regent. So fascinating. I mean, we talked about it during the summary a little bit. So he is the son of, specifically, a man who is very powerful. I assume a cape. And I think it's the most interesting option is if it's a hero, someone high up in the Protectorate.
Sure.
I mean, hopefully one of the Triumvirate. I guess not Alexandria, because she seems to be a woman. And we have Legend and Eidolon. Those are the other two. So I'm guessing it's one of those two.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that he is the son of Legend because that just sounds the most intimidating for him. And he was like a rebellious teen with his own power. I was going to say he doesn't have an interesting trigger event, but he did seem very cagey when they were brought up. So maybe he does have an interesting trigger event, even though he has at least one superhero parent. Anyway, he was a rebellious teen who wanted, like, freedom from that, like, parent. And, like, how do you not want to act out when your parent is, like, the most revered superhero, one of the three in the country? Like, what do you have to become a villain? So he's, like, a 13-year-old villain, and he escaped the city and, like, changed his name. And I wonder if there's more to his power than he's saying, because I feel like otherwise it might be too identifiable.
Right. Changing their names, costumes, and methods.
Methods, yeah. So I wonder if there's something he's been hiding. I mean, I don't know if he could hide it from Lisa, but, like, maybe that Lisa agreed not to tell.
That's true. And, I mean, we can circle back to Regent if you want, but we do get confirmation that Lisa has been lying by omission quite a bit to the Undersiders. There's this bit where Lisa's like, yeah, I can vouch for his power. And Taylor's like, you said you didn't know his power. And what Lisa says is, actually, I said I couldn't tell you. couldn't say. And is it my fault that you interpreted that to mean I didn't know? Which is an excellent bit of lawyer speak from Lisa there. But yeah, there's definitely a question to me presented. Coil at the end says, like, we have a contract, and of course, now you can talk about some of that other stuff. But it is really interesting, the question of, like, what Coil says is sort of like, I went to Tattletale, right? I found your Tattletale, and, like, put together this little group.
Well, yeah, he's like, oh crap, Tattletale's gonna know about me. No, let's get her first.
Yeah. But so it is interesting. We sort of said, like, Gru has fallen into this position of leadership, but this is
Tattletale's group.
I guess in microcosm, like, Lisa's kind of the Coil of their group, right? Like, the one who has the most information. And
that's been clear, but yeah. And, I mean, I think Lisa probably was in a position where she couldn't lead because she couldn't share all of the information she had.
Right.
But I think also, I don't know that she wants to lead. She doesn't quite seem like the kind who wants that.
Yeah, well, all right. I'm taking us away from Regent now, but I had a question for you. Because one thing Coil does say, at the end, he's like, oh, you guys can go back to what you were before. But he does it in a really condescending way. He's like, you could rule territory as my, like, minions of the highest order, you know, but if you want to go back to like robbing banks and all of that uncommon...
Like your little costumed outfit.
Yeah. Stuff like, then that's fine.
Escapades.
And that just immediately reminded me of Lisa's whole cops and robbers thing.
Oh,
and
yes.
So I'm wondering, like, I guess Coil says he's not about manipulation, but to me this is emotional manipulation because he is saying, yeah, I guess you guys are kind of like doing stuff, but it's like so petty. And like, really, if you wanted to be awesome, you would be doing ambitious, grandiose stuff like me.
No, that's true. That's true.
I don't know how effective it's going to be on Bitch or Regent.
I feel like
or Gru.
that's pretty low on the list, the hierarchy of manipulation.
But I'm really curious, and you brought this up before, is like, what is Lisa getting out of it? And like, the sort of like, if she's all about cops and robbers, does she feel differently about what Coil's doing? Or maybe was that more of her keeping mum? Because
no, I think
she's
that
aware
plays
of those
into
things.
What Coil's doing. Like, I feel like a cops and robbers philosophy is one that says like, okay, so you have these quote unquote bad guys who are outside the system and these good guys who are inside the system, but like the morality isn't necessarily different between them. And I think that's the vision of the world that Coil is presenting. He's like, I'm not like an excellent person or anything, but like I'm going to do good things for the city because I have pride, I think that idea that like, okay, someone outside the system could actually be better to rule it than someone within the system is very much sort of the cops and robbers mindset of like, these two sides aren't necessarily right and wrong.
No, I totally see that point. To me, the salient point is with the cops and robbers thing, that's a game. It's the stakes are low.
This
Taylor,
is very high stakes.
Right?
Yeah.
And a supervillain king is much higher stakes.
But if there's a supervillain king, then these little games between the heroes and the villains kind of happening on the ground, those are pretty low stakes because like the supervillain king is ruling it anyway.
Yeah, but I think that's not part of what
that's
cops
not really
and
part of what
robbers
she
means
said.
to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. There now is a goal, and it's actually a very high stakes goal.
Right.
A supervillain king would not just give people something to talk about at the water cooler the next day.
Yeah, and it's also like, oh yeah, we're gonna have fun and do what we want. It's actually like, well, Coil says
we're being groomed to be.
He'll take down. He'll reduce crime in the city, but what he means is the crime that happens in the city is the stuff that he authorizes, right? Which is very different from...
Right. But if you have someone ruling, is what they authorize really crime?
No, exactly. That's a great point. I didn't realize you were going to... I think the thing that I'm pushing back on is not Taylor. I'm pushing back on your monarchist or royalist tendencies, Jenny.
Look, it's very tempting in fiction, especially, to want someone to come along and just very competently rule everything.
Yeah. Well, okay, so getting back to Coil's vibe, it sounds like he's convincing you, like that he's going to do a good job when he wins.
When? Yeah, I mean...
He thinks he's going to win.
He has proven himself to be very competent so far. So I don't really have any reason to think that he is... that either that he's lying or that he's vastly overestimated his own competence. I'm kind of expecting, story-wise, what to happen is, like... Because Armsmaster's been so incompetent... I'm expecting the Protectorate to send in a hero who is a better match for Coil.
Ooh,
If there is this leadership change. Like, I think if Taylor sides with Coil, then, at least temporarily, maybe as long as Kaiser's still active, then what we need is a new source of opposition. And, like, Armsmaster was just crushed. I mean, his halberd was literally crushed.
Yeah.
And he really, I think, rose as high in competence as he is ever going to get in facing off against the Undersiders. And he lost.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to need a new hero enemy antagonist.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah. Coil really summarily wrote off New Wave.
Yeah, that was a fun detail. That apparently they're actually, I'm sort of reading between the lines, but presumably it's the thing about they have public identities.
Yeah.
But that's a controversial or not popular.
Yeah. Maybe they're controversial because Glory Girl keeps almost killing people.
Yeah, that too. Right, that too.
Yeah.
The thing you were saying about the appeal of someone just being competent, do you think that Taylor feels that way? I know we haven't seen the reaction from Taylor, but we've had some sort of what did she get into this for? Her feelings about taking down Loon.
Right,
her
because
strong
there's such a sense of unintended consequences.
She does have a strong sense of morality, and Coil's not making a moral pitch. He's making a more pragmatic one. But I'm wondering about that tension within Taylor and whether she's gettable by Coil in a way that she wasn't by the Undersiders before this.
I think she's gettable. I think, like I said, she's going to make a conditional internal acceptance, as long as he's fighting Kaiser still. But I think by the time he defeats Kaiser, it probably won't go that linearly, but I think she'll have seen enough that she'll be really seriously tempted. Because I think it'll be easy for her to say at this point, that the principle of the thing is in opposition to Coil. She is a very principled person. She is still, I think, relatively idealistic, despite having seen these negative unintended consequences of the things she's done. I think she will still say, okay, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. There's not supposed to be one tyrant ruling our city. I will not support that ultimately, but I will go along with it for this reason for a time.
Yeah.
But it's possible that if Coil is actually able to deliver on some of his promises, if we are able to follow him for that long before Taylor has, reason to jump ship, I think it would be really hard for her to turn away from that because she does care so much about the effects on the city.
Yeah.
I think she, legitimately wants Brockton Bay to be a better place to live. And if Coil does actually prove that he can and will make that happen, then I think at some point it might be really hard for her to walk away from that. But maybe she'll make a really hard decision.
Yeah. I mean, I totally see that, right? You make the deal with the devil and then things are good.
Right. You're like, oh no, the devil's really good at ruling.
So, okay, you said she cares a lot about the city. She's boxed in a different way. This is the second time we've had someone put her on the spot and be like,
yeah.
So Skitter, what is your deal?
Yeah.
We had the scene at the diner where they're like, why are you a supervillain?
And she's
she says,
escape.
Escape.
Yeah.
And here it's, well, what do you care about? And she says, the city.
Which is a weird answer.
Those are such different answers.
In the eyes of the Undersiders, right? They're going to be like, why do you care so much about the city?
Yeah.
Why did you become a supervillain for Escape if you care about the city? I think, what she should ask him is for a transfer to Arcadia High. Because, she is not going to ask him to take care of the bully situation because she has already made it clear she thinks it would be wrong to, sweep down on them with superpowers and crush them.
I love that you said that because Taylor does say that. She just folds in a little addendum and sort out some stuff with, the bureaucracies and, the schools and stuff. She slips it in there, right? It is, she can't help herself. Or maybe she's just trying to disguise it amidst all the other things.
Yeah.
But just sort out that bureaucracy. Fire that principal and transfer me. Come on, man.
I mean, that's open to interpretation.
Yeah, I'm reminded that the situation in Brockton Bay is, comically...
It's so bad. It's 50% unemployment. How do you resist someone who's going to improve that when the elected officials have been so incompetent?
Just circling back to some of the stuff I was saying up top, right?
Yeah.
The cynicism from, living in Brockton Bay is going to be very strong.
Yeah.
And make an offer like this all the more tempting.
Yeah. But, he also says, it's I don't want to take over the world. I want to take over the city. And then he's like, if it goes well, maybe we'll expand to other cities. Unclear if that'll happen, but, he's like, it's just a possibility. But
it's such a grandiose plan.
He's so cautious in his methods and he's so bold in his ambitions.
Yes. To me, there's some ambivalence here because he says both, I am going to control everything. Mm-hmm. And I basically already do. Mm-hmm. It's just a question of whether you want to be part of that or not, right? He says, I control destinies. I control outcomes. And then kind of at the end, he's like, but I won't betray you guys because I don't know what would happen.
That's true. That's
right?
true.
So,
it's a little bit of an ambiguity. Yeah.
Right. So I guess I'm maybe more inclined to say that the latter move is more of a rhetorical flourish than how he actually feels. But we've had a lot of hubristic capes show up in the story so far.
Yeah. I don't think he is one.
You don't think so?
No, because I think he has really big goals, but he hedges his bets all the time. Like he has said, like, he's gained a lot of money through very conservative uses of his powers. And I think that's a good analogy for how he operates in all ways, because he is kind of like, I'll make bold moves, but I know they might not succeed, and I'll have plans for if they fail.
Yeah.
So I think he actually is not demonstrating hubris in the scene. He's demonstrating like vast ambition, but tempered with a lot of like, and I know any individual piece should fail, so I have a lot of fail-safes in place. I don't expect everything to be smooth sailing.
Yeah.
He has 2 different mayoral candidates in his pocket. He controls destinies, but he has 2 out of the 3 candidates in his pocket.
Right.
You could have just chosen one, man, but no, but he is cautious in a way, like he refuses to have everything sit on a single plan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably why it's true that he's giving the Undersiders a real choice, because if they say no, he has other ways to deal with stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he's amassing pieces and putting them to play, but he's not counting on any of those pieces.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Maybe it's just the confidence that makes me think that there must be hubris there. And the flair for the dramatic.
Yes.
The somewhat self-conscious monologuing that he does.
But he rolls with things. He was like, oh, I was going to make this big entrance, but actually this is good too.
Yeah, that's true. You're talking about his power again.
Yeah, I still don't really understand.
Well, we got a demonstration, which is that
But with coin flips.
He flipped coins.
And Tattletale's no, like, it's like much bigger than that. But what we saw was the coin flip.
Right, what he says is, I control destinies, I control outcomes. And he claims it's not luck manipulation or probability manipulation, even though Taylor's kind of like, oh, kind of the same thing. What you said, you control outcomes. So I guess, like, what's going on here? Do you have can you pitch anything for, like, what actually is his power?
I'm not sure. As soon as he said that, I was like, I was thinking, like, did he do this to the city? I was also thinking about what you said when they fought Bakuda, where you were like, yeah, it could have gone either way. And it's really interesting looking back at, like, he kind of says, like, no, I supported you guys, but you could have failed. I think that could mean he did use his power on them, because they have kept winning. They've won every fight they've had. And how much of that is Coil just putting, like, a feather on one side of the scale?
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It also is kind of subtext in what he's saying a little bit about, like, oh yeah, I put you Undersiders together. Like, he kind of claims an ownership of them. In a way that, like, I feel like Taylor and maybe everyone except Lisa didn't really perceive as like, oh, well, the boss is like sending us on jobs. We can turn them down. We can do other things. Right. And what you just laid out is like...
No, he's been like cultivating them. Like creating the right environment.
Right. Like sort of like it's a very huge, if true...
The invisible safety net.
Exactly. How much was there at Invisible Safety Net already?
Yeah.
And how would that change how each of the Undersiders feels about what they've been doing?
Right. And would we want to keep doing it if we don't have the, that like slight wind in our favor?
Yeah.
So it also makes me think about... He says, you were fighting the ABB for a year, and then when Skidder joined, that's what tipped the balance and you were able to take them out. So he did not make Taylor join. Like, I don't think he saw Taylor coming. I don't have any reason to think that.
Yeah.
But I suspect that her taking out Loong, and then, I don't know if the boss told Lisa to recruit her. He would have known real fast if so, but I believe he would. I think as soon as she fought Loong, he was like, oh, this is the time. It's only been, like a month?
Yeah.
He was like, oh, now the Undersiders are complete.
Right.
I think they probably were under some kind of orders to, like, get another person. Because, they weren't quite strong enough yet as a team. Some
recruitment efforts.
Yeah. Probably not specifically telling them who to recruit, because they tried to recruit Circus.
Spitfire also.
Right. Well, but Spitfire might have been a good... But, like, Circus was already in Coil's pay,
true. Yeah.
So I think Taylor coming on the scene led directly to this moment.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have been revealing himself to them at this point if it hadn't been for Taylor.
Right.
I also was thinking about that scene in the bar for, like, the supervillain meeting where Lisa's like, yeah, but Fault Line's crew has, like, failed a job or two. And Regent or someone was like, yeah, but they've done a lot more jobs. And Lisa's like, yeah, but we haven't failed any. And I wonder if that's why Fault Line's crew is not reporting to Coil. And I wonder if, like, Lisa feels like if we'd failed any jobs... we wouldn't have met Coil's standards.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really interesting. I'm also wondering that bit where she's like, well, I didn't want to tell you guys about the money. I wonder how much of that was her wanting to feel some more agency rather than just being like, if she and Coil were talking about it and Coil's like, yeah, they're not going to want to do this, so I'm going to offer you guys a ton of money. And maybe this is like Lisa looking for like, well, what if I can convince them without the money?
Yeah.
Like looking to kind of have...
Or feeling like, oh, I'm really like putting a lot of weight on them from the boss, and that's kind of unfair.
Yeah, that's really fun.
I have a note that Regent's costume is so apt. He really is a little prince.
I just feel like if you are Regent and you need to go through the whole trouble of like changing your identity to try and get out from under your father's thumb, and as soon as somebody meets you, they clock that you have daddy issues based on your whole vibe. You're just not controlling for the right factors.
I mean, he doesn't seem to be the most competent person we've met.
That's a great point. Another, I think I've been coming across as more Coil skeptical in this episode. Mm-hmm. One thing that I did find kind of...
Skeptical.
Yeah, thank you. One thing that I did find kind of scary about him is that he is still confident about working with Tattletale despite knowing how her power works, right? She is like, feels like she would be such a threat to him because she's going to know stuff, that he doesn't tell her.
Yeah.
And he wants to be like in control. So like the fact that he feels like he has her locked down and like isn't sort of threatened by her at all does speak to his immense confidence. And it's like, it's like, oh, he's been successfully working with her for a year.
And I think it speaks to like his intentions are in a way above board. Like he's trying to do what he says he's trying to do. He's not like lying to them. Like, he's not trying to keep like dark secrets. He's just straightforwardly trying to rule.
Well, that's so interesting. But like, why is he wearing the snake? Right? Like his whole vibe is like, I want you to look where I'm telling you to look. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it's just such an interesting...
Yeah, but he's willing to work with Tattletale. Yeah. He could have had her killed.
It's such an interesting...
Yeah. I mean, I want to know who he is in real life. Who's the Bruce Wayne here?
Right. That's the other obvious point of like, why does he wear a costume with a silly mask? And so people don't know who he is. Armsmaster's best friend from back in the day.
Yes.
As we theorized.
Yes. Well, no, because I think Armsmaster is getting shipped off.
Right.
So it's not going to be a significant relationship with him. And now we know why he wanted the heroes humiliated.
Oh, can I tell you what one of my favorite theories when I read Worm was going into this? Until the last chapter, I was convinced there was no boss.
Oh.
Lisa was the boss. And she just didn't...
I love
She just didn't, like, want the
hierarchy.
The hierarchy.
Yeah, she wanted to just be one of the guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
One of the gang.
And so...
And she was secretly like incredibly rich and
I was expecting basically Lisa and Coil to be the same character up until this point in the story. And
this
is a great
that's
twist.
Not
but
true.
Yeah.
That
it's the same thing of like
fantastic.
a Coil equals Armsmaster or the boss equals Armsmaster theory. Like we have now seen Lisa and Armsmaster and Coil all in the same room together. Which I guess isn't totally knocking those theories out of the park, but it is tough.
I want to know what the Traveler's problem is. Why are they hemorrhaging money, apparently?
Yeah, right. Trickster was in this scene, and like, it was too, like, there's not really much new. It sort of confirms a lot of stuff, and we get the fact that Coil hired them. We don't get a lot from Gru in this chapter.
Yeah, I feel like his relationship with the boss is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Taylor senses a hint of doubt when he asks about the ambitiousness of Coil's plans, and he kind of... When he goes for a handshake at the end, I thought to myself, good boy. I feel like that's kind of what he's going for there. He's like, we'll think about it. I hope this works out.
I mean, he's sucking up to his employer, right?
Yeah. We talked about Regent. I feel like he also is very teenage in his responses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when Coil's like, I'm going to take over the city. And, like, Regent's like, yeah? Like, duh? Like, I mean, that's not a surprise.
I do feel like I didn't quite predict the scope of what Coil's goal was, that he wanted to take over, like, above and below ground. But I do feel like I predicted that, like, he's going to try to take out Kaiser next.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just that's the part that's, like, relevant to the Undersiders, but he has more... stuff going on.
I feel like next, I wonder if what we're going to see is actually the Undersiders and the Travelers, the Coil coalition, the Coalition. we might say, going up against Empire 88. That'll be interesting. We've seen some of them fight already, but I think there are enough other members that we haven't seen that it'll make for interesting combat, because I don't think... And we also haven't fought any of them.
Yeah.
But I know so far Wildbow hasn't really liked to repeat. I guess we fought Loom twice, but it was a very different fight. Yeah. So, I think it will be interesting, but I don't think it'll be as straightforward as just like, and now we fight Empire 88. Like, I think there's going to be some other stuff going on.
There could be some more stuff going on.
The new heroes, maybe.
Right.
Showing up competently much sooner than expected.
Right. Well, yeah, and you sort of made the pitch that, of course, if the supervillain King, does a good job, then, like, that's great, that's it. And, wrap up, I'm happy with the status quo now, but it's a story, so...
Right, so...
You're not... That beat can't last for, too long. You need the hero presence to come in. You need something, even if it's not that.
I'd be surprised if this chapter has completely changed your answer about whether I know what the story is about. Because I feel like a lot of this was pretty guessable last chapter when I absolutely did not know what the story is about. So
I'll say, I want to say on mic, there's not one answer to this, right? Worm is a great story because if you want to distill it down into one sentence, there are a lot of sentences you could pick. There are a lot of scenes you could pick, and...
That's why a musical adaptation would be so challenging.
Yes.
Sometimes.
I will say people got into it between, this episode and the last one on Discord a bit. I think that the target that I'm aiming for... broadly people agree with. I think some people would say, you need to read much further to really be able to, like, put together more of the puzzle of the plot. And I think some people would say what you've read now is enough to get to kind of the thematic heart of the work. Though it's tough to, see that stuff except in
thematic
retrospect.
heart isn't necessary. Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I think it's an open question, but the thing that I'm going for, I'm thinking of a specific moment in the story. And
is it something where you can tell me how far away we are from it?
I think it is fair to say that we'll probably get there this year.
Okay. All right.
I think I said that on mic before.
Okay.
But that's the goal is that Jenny knows what the story is about in 2025.
Okay. So that's like 3 months and change. So if it's like 8+ episodes a month, so that's like 24, somewhere between 24 and 30 episodes. So that's probably like 3 arcs.
Yeah, I would say it's fair to say within the next 3 arcs.
Okay.
Yeah.
This arc has been great so far.
It has.
I'm really loving this arc.
Yeah, I completely agree. The last teeny tiny little detail that I wanted to talk about is when Taylor's bringing up some suspicions of Coil very expertly, and I don't know if he stumbles into this or if he's like, if he was thinking about this in some way, but like, with Tattletale specifically, he's like, yeah, but like Tattletale can vouch for me and she's going to know all this other stuff because of what her power is and you trust her, you're her friend, right?
Yeah.
And then Taylor's like, ugh, I can't admit that I don't trust her, right? Like, so I feel like I have to stop this line of questioning. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, maybe a little manipulative.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a real difference between like never manipulating anyone in any way and not choosing that as your main method of control of people.
Yeah. And I do sort of take him at face value that, like, again, he's doing the temptation thing, but he's super clear about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't let himself get pulled into arguments. Like, both Bitch and Regent are, like, not that excited. He doesn't really get a straight answer from Skitter, but he just lays out his case, and he's like, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so much... We could keep talking, but we got
to wrap it up.
We should wrap it up.
Let's do the first sentence of the next chapter. Is it still this arc, I assume?
It's still this arc.
Yeah.
I think I can tell you it's the last chapter in the arc.
Okay. I think they'll just be talking about it and we'll get Taylor's reactions.
The first sentence is indented. Dear Miss Militia.
I think she's going to draft something but not send it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's like sitting, she's like, what would I say to her? I mean, that's so risky though. Like, Tattletale could figure that out. Tattletale has figured out very little about Taylor so far though, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Dear Miss Militia. Man, okay. Whew. I guess we'll find out what happens next time.
On Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.